Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Junaid Abdul Jabbar, working for Mapping Archaeological Heritage in South Asia project, which is based at University of Cambridge. So this talk is very artist-light and sort of a more of a pre-artist stage because, as many of us know, that artist collector has been discontinued. Whereas for most of the projects which are documenting archaeological heritage, survey remains an essential component of those projects. So we have developed a survey methodology using Open Data Kit, and I'm going to walk through what ODK has to offer and how we went about it, and very keen to hear your feedback and thoughts about integration ideas between ArchIS and ODK. Already some very useful and relevant presentations, the last two ones, so looking forward to those discussions. So ODK is a open source mobile data collection platform which has functionality and support for many different question types to record a variety of data, for including text, integer, decimals, date, time. We can collect location-based data in form of point, line, and polygon. We can use control vocabularies through select one or select multiple question types, or collect some media like geotagged images, audio, video, and there are some other question types which might not be very relevant for our use cases, like scanning a barcode or others. ODK also allows to preload data for ground validation, like if you have some records that are already in the database, for example, heritage sites digitized from historic maps or satellite imagery, we can load those into ODK and go for ground truthing. There can be custom skip logics, for example, based on a yes or no response to a question, the form could navigate into a different branch and skip a part of the form so that we are collecting only relevant data. We have repeat groups which are basically one-to-many relation, and these can be nested as well with the multilingual support and to collect data offline or online. So the overall architecture looks something like this. So we have to start with making an XLS form which needs to be deployed onto a server. So in terms of server, we are using Kobo Toolbox. There is another server known as ODK Cloud, but it was depending on the resources we have and the global south, the area of interest we are working on. We wanted to keep it very cost effective. So we went with Kobo Toolbox, which has a free tier for non-profit or government agencies, UN and educational institutes, that provides unlimited forms and projects. You can have unlimited surveyors or data collectors, up to 5,000 monthly submissions, which are way more than we need, and 1 GB storage space that gets freed on a rolling basis as you download your data from the server. So you deploy the form on the server and configure access, like who has the edit access and who just needs to collect the data or view submissions. From there, you need to download the form onto a field collection device. We are using ODK Collect over here. Kobo Toolbox also comes with its own app, which is Kobo Collect, but that's basically a fork of ODK, and it's usually a bit behind from what ODK Collect has to offer. So the surveyors collect data through ODK Collect and send it back to the server, from where it can be downloaded and then processed to feed back into ArchIS. In terms of advantages that we have experienced, is really low cost. As I mentioned, we are working global south, so we needed to keep the cost very low. So it's also scalable. For example, we have a number of collaborators, and in the last training session, there were 40 participants. So just getting everyone on board to do field survey collection is very easy with this technology or tools that we are using. So they just need to create their Kobo accounts, here is a username, then we can give access to the form to those users. Again, it's sustainable for our stakeholders, so they can deploy a form with very low associated cost and complexity and very less infrastructural arrangements. It allows data access and management, so data, as soon as submitted onto the server, is readily accessible to us and our collaborators as well. And in terms of form authoring, I know we don't want another Excel, but sometimes this authoring, having it in XLS form, has allowed us to just give it to other members in our team who want to just change the question statements or labels and just give the form back. So it helps with the delegation and sharing responsibility. So in terms of form structure, there are three sheets mainly, which one is the survey sheet that includes the main structure of the form, including all the questions, their data types and appearances. Then we have choices sheet where we can include the control vocabularies. And finally, a setting sheet to assign a unique identifier to your form and its current version. Um, within the main survey sheet, we can have many columns, but there are three mandatory columns. That is the question type, then the name. So name cannot be same for two entries, something like node aliases. And then we have label, which is the actual statement of the question that the user sees in the data collection application. Based on this, a very simple example survey sheet looks something like this. So we have a question type that is text, where we are collecting the site name data, and the recorder sees a statement to record site name. Similarly for site length or taking and recording photos, or recording site point coordinates. So because there are, there are quite a few options on the appearance of these geopoint questions. So in a very simple appearance, like just default, you would see a screen that tells you what is the accuracy of the location that you're trying to record. It allows us to put a constraint as well, where it says point will be saved at 5 meters, so we can define the minimum acceptable accuracy, and if it reaches 5 meters, it would automatically just save the point, and then the number of satellites it's connecting to record that location coordinates. In terms of another appearance for the same question type, we can have placement maps where user can tap on the map and record latitude, longitude. It's useful when you are away from the site, like if you are standing at the site boundary and you want to mark point at the center of the site, you can just tap on it with the satellite imagery open on the back, but then it does not record automatically, or the GPS accuracy coming from device, because it's a manual placement. Or we can have a maps appearance where you can basically record your current location. So on the map, there is a cursor that shows the current location of the device. And when you try to save a point, it will just take that location and add the locational accuracy to it along with elevation using the device GPS. So this is for the point data, and if we want to, for recording the site boundaries, we have provided option for both line and polygon. So for recording line geometries, there is a geotrace question type, which allows again three input methods. One is placement by tapping, so just tap on the map and it will start drawing the line. The second one is manual location recording, so user can take the device and they can walk around the site boundary, and on each corner or at a turn they can say record a point here, and then go to the next site, record a point here, and it will draw the line geometry with the accuracy available. Or there is an automatic location recording where we can set the interval, like record the point after every 30 seconds. So you just keep on walking and it will automatically record. And we can also configure acceptable location accuracy in this, like record point after every 30 seconds when the accuracy is 5 meters, something like that. So it will automatically keep on doing that. And same options really for polygon boundaries as well. So talking about location, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a requirement where we need to ground truth existing database records. In previous versions of ODK, there was no interactive support for preloading existing data records. So we were trying to do something like using MB tiles, where the user can have some MB tiles loaded as base map, and because you will still get the current location cursor, so you can have a reference that whether there is any existing site around you or not. But now it's an interactive option available. So there is a question type known as select one from file, which needs a data file in a very specific format that I'm going to show in a minute. And then you prepare that file, upload onto the server, and pass that name to the question type, and then it loads the data from there in an interactive way. So the data file needs to look so there are three mandatory columns. One is name and label. These needs to have same values because that's how it works. So user will see one label on the when you open the attributes of the location, and then there is a formula on the back end that matches that label to the name and then pulls the data and shows to the user. So other than these three columns, name, label, and geometry, we can have as many columns as we like. But these three needs to be there, and then geometry has to be in a specific format where there's the four values which are space separated. So latitude, longitude, then altitude in meters, and accuracy in meters. If you don't have these values for altitude and accuracy, we can enter 0, 0, but we need 4 components. So preparing the preload file in this format and uploading onto the server, data looks like this in the application. So you can see all the points that are there, and if you click on any point, it will show all the attributes loaded from the preload file. Some of the attributes are empty, so they would just like show the column header, but otherwise if anything is there, it will be populated here. And if the surveyors or the team is happy that this is the site that they want to ground truth, they just click on select, and it's selected as the existing data point and can continue with the survey. So that's mostly about the location-based capabilities. In terms of choices sheet, we are using control vocabulary that are all in our Arches instance. So here they are known as list names. List names, one list can be used with more than one questions. So for example, if there is a yes or no list, we can associate with many different questions. Similarly for construction material, these are just some examples that I added here, current use. So it's a big file in the main form. So you can add all the control vocabularies as list over here and associate with the. So select one and select multiple type questions in ODK. And it also allows, because we can also make, we had a requirement to make question groups so that we can associate some appearances with the groups, like showing all the questions on one screen on the form. So that can be done using the question groups, which are something similar to Arches branches. So like there is a group for location information, then condition assessment, environmental assessment. So we can bundle the questions together. And over here, we can also see the example of control vocabularies where select one type question is associated with site extent type. So it shows users 2 options on the screen, and based on the selection, we can see the relevance column. So if the user selects a line, then they will only see the geotrace type question on next screen. And if they select polygon, it will be only the geoshape type question. And based on the selection, there is another question that is select one that goes to the Arches extent certainty list. The archaeology extent certainty. And it only appears when the user has made some selection that they wanted to decide, they decided to record the site extent. So if the count is more than 0, so this question would appear, otherwise it does not appear. In terms of, so these question groups can also be repeat groups and can also be nested, just like Arches and the resource model that we have designed. So in the example here, this is just a subset of what we have in the form. So one site can have many site photos associated with it. So that's a repeat group. Site photos is a repeat group over here. And then we had a requirement where we needed to follow a very specific survey methodology, which is known as transacts approach. So it's basically the surveyors make 2 transacts along the site, and then they walk on each transact maybe 30 meter or 40 meter. Then they try to record units and see what's the artifacts density over here to see whether the site is continuing or not. So each site can have many transacts, then each transact can have many units, and each unit can have many unit artifact photographs. So you can see it supports a lot of nesting and repeat groups for these nested questions as well. And similarly, there is a condition assessment group with many condition photos. So just like I was trying to explain what a transact is, and it might not have come up very clearly, We have questions with visual glossary, where we have basically designed some images to assist our collaborators. So these show up in the form, uh, just to help them what to expect, or what kind of transact they are doing, whether it's a cross transact or whether it's a parallel transact, and which direction they need to walk when they are on site. And just a real example of this data collected is from one of the sites is this, where you can see the location of units basically along the transact. So this site has um, it can be 2 transacts or 4 transacts depending on how the surveyor collected this data. But then along each transact there are units which are plotted over here, and the colors are based on artifact density. So the logic is that as you continue to move, and if you find a natural boundary, you stop the survey there, or if the artifact density reduces a lot, we say that this is the site boundary and we stop the survey over there. Um, so along with visual glossary, there is a support for multiple languages as well. So because based on our project region, we are interested in Urdu and Hindi, so we can add labels, and within the mobile application, we can select the language that the surveyors are interested in. So that's pretty straightforward. And um, to collect data using this form, we use the application, and the one of the so the Kobo allows to download data in different formats, including CSV file, XLS file. There is also GeoJSON option, but it's not working very well. And so because our form has a lot of nesting, so this data comes out in form of XLS with multiple sheets. Like the first sheet is the core information, where we have the general attributes for the form, and then the other sheets are basically one-to-many relationships like site photos, transacts, unit photos, surface assessments, and all that. In terms of one-to-many relationships, the data looks like this. So in the main sheet, in terms of parent-child, so the main sheet has an index column like that goes on 1 to 3, and so on. And then because one site can have many transacts as children, so the transacts sheet has parent index, where you can see that first 4 or 5 entries are related to the first site entry in the parent form. So that's how we maintain the relationship between parent and child. Um, yeah, these are many sheets because our form is a bit complicated. One thing I do want to mention is that because this is designed based on collaborator feedback and uh, what we needed, so we have introduced a question in the form that asks whether you want to, because we realize there are challenges in field. Sometimes it's very harsh weather when we are doing survey, or sometimes it's not safe for surveyors to stay very long at one site. So there is an option for surveyors to record core information or do the detailed site recording. So they can choose on the basis of that, and we get the data. So as I mentioned earlier, ODK has a specific geometry format, which looks like the first entry, where we have latitude, longitude, elevation, and accuracy. And this is not QGIS or ArcGIS friendly really. So I wanted to do this conversion into WKT format on the form side, but you can see that it needs splitting, then taking the first 2 entries, swapping them, and then the loop on the whole geometry. And some site boundaries are really big with many coordinates. So this was not working very effectively on the server side for Kobo. So what we have done is that I've written a QGIS plugin that does this conversion for the user. So you need to select the downloaded data, select the relevant sheet, and then there are 2 drop downs to select the line geometry column, and another to select the polygon geometry column. And then you can name the columns that have to be that need to store the converted geometries. And just to make it a bit easier, because it's a big form, there is an option that says check to auto select MAHSA ODK geometry columns. So it's dynamic. Other users can use it, but just to make it a bit easier, so if you check it, it will automatically pull the column names where this data is stored. in MAHSA forms, and then it also auto-populates the resulting column names, and you can just convert it to get the geometries in WKT format, as you can see for this polygon over here. This is readily plottable on QGIS or importing into Arches. In terms of the complete backup, I'm using Kobo API. So what it does is that it just goes into the server with the token and then lists all the projects that are there. And then one by one downloads the XLS file from there along with the image media files. So this is run periodically. So just because so that we have backup for all the survey activity that we are doing. So that was mostly about ODK, and as I mentioned, this is a bit Arches-like presentation. So next step really we are interested in is integrating or sort of automating and streamlining the way this data gets back into Arches. And I think for our requirement, really bulk data manager and the ETL module that Namjin was talking about earlier would be suitable one. We can write some custom ETL module, and that tries to use this ODK data and push it into Arches using the resource portal mapping and things like that. Or I mean, now because most of us know what some part of how to develop the form, and so there could be an Arches application that tries to automatically convert the resource model structure onto an XLS form, and then you use it to collect data and push it back into Arches through that logic. So yeah, that was most of it. Thank you from my side, and any questions or comments?
That was great, Junaid. I noticed when you showed the map that there was a Google logo there. Is there any licensing that you have to worry about? Are there any costs associated with that?
No, it comes with default with ODK Collect.
Oh, yeah. Great.
But there are options to select different base maps. So there is Google, there is Mapbox. So you can go into the settings and change, and you can also load your custom tiles in form of MB tiles.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And sorry if you mentioned this, but does it support offline mapping? Can you cache the tiles?
Yes. So it does support that. If you're not doing MB tiles, the idea is that you zoom and zoom out a few times on the area you are going to survey, and then the cache tiles stay there.
Okay,
and
great.
You can do the offline data collection, and when Wi-Fi is good, you send it to the server.
Oh, really cool. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say, I think it's perfect segue to our next talk. I don't want to cut anyone off, but like mentioning QGIS plugins, like this is awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of know the answer to this question, but I wanted you to maybe talk a little bit about the other option, which is ODK, not cloud, but central, which is sort of the server that maybe would help build this integration with Arches.
So you mean the one we can deploy locally?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically this is an open source project, so we can deploy ODK Cloud on our own servers. We have not yet done that because so it's not a very high cost setup, but definitely in terms of long sustainability, that can also be deployed on premises, and users can connect to that instance and collect data. So yeah, I will do it with you, Mahmood.
I mean, this was the idea. Okay, the backstory of this, me and Junaid worked in the same department in Cambridge, and we were exploring the same solution a long time, and we wanted to build an ODK Central, but as you said, financially this was not the wisest choice, but it's still a dream because we think this is the easiest way to integrate with Arches eventually.
Sounds like it. All right, last call. Any questions? Very, very quick one. That's fine.
Just, you mentioned the multilingual aspects. In general, did you have any challenges with scripts or things like that, or how did you find the interface coped with Hindi and Urdu?
Yeah, it's fine. I was working. I was sort of worried because some of the previous work, not Arches, but some of the previous work that I've done with Urdu and Hindi is that when you download the data and it's an Excel file, it messes up the encoding and turns it into question marks and stuff like that. But that's not happened with us in this setup. So that's fine. Yeah, you can just switch the language from the ODE collect application and it will pull the relevant labels and users can collect the data.
Because I just spent a month trying to convince people they want Hindi Arches applications. That's good to know.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thanks very much, Junaid.
Thank you.